What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Powered by Primus, and in today's video I'm going to be showing a different style of video, but I'm going to be showing off my Optimus Prime, General Prime 4-wide list, which I did play on stream the other day. A bunch of people were really curious about it, wanted to see the list, so I'm going to be showing you guys all of that today. And like I said, I'll be doing the video just a little bit differently than I normally do. I'm going to be combining the deck profile video and gameplay all into one video. So if you guys do like the new style of video, make sure you guys go down to the comment section below, let me know. Or another way that you guys can let me know that you guys do enjoy it is with a like on the video. Now, I'm going to be doing it slightly different. Normally on the decks that I'm really happy with, that are performing extremely strong, a bunch of those things, I'm going to still dedicate an entire deck profile video to those lists and showing you guys each card. However, with this, I do think that the deck is really fun. I think that there's a lot of really awesome interactions. I do think that it has potential to be a very strong deck. However, I did not want to dedicate an entire deck profile video to this as well as gameplay for it. So I thought that I would just incorporate the two together, showing you guys a little bit about the sequencing, the power of the deck, some of these specific cards in the list, and then showing you guys gameplay in the same video, so then you guys have everything that you guys need to go out and play the deck yourself if you are indeed fact interested in the list. Now, like I said, I did play this on stream the other day, had really good results. I've been playing it, and this thing is actually really good, and a lot of the power does come in the sequencing of the characters. There's actually a lot of synergy in between the characters, and then there's a lot of really awesome cards in the list that kind of push this thing over the top. Now, I don't want to spoil how the gameplay will go, but I will say that there is a specific turn where I do an attack with Steeljaw, and this is going to be a mixed list, but Steeljaw gets in for like 18 damage or something absolutely ridiculous. So it's really cool. It has potential for even a small character to be able to get in for a lot of damage. It has potential for it to be able to get in for up to 5 pierce in one attack, which is really nice, especially if you're going up against those heavy blue decks. So this thing does have just a lot of really fun interactions and does have some really cool cards that I haven't played with in a while back into this list. So it does do some really cool things, but let's get into it. First character we're going to talk about is going to be Optimus Prime, General Optimus Prime, just because he's really the main piece of the entire deck. He does have 4 attack, 14 health, and 3 armor, and he does have this really awesome ability while in alt mode, is that he does say each of your other characters gets bold 1 and tough 1. So obviously I'm a big fan of mixed lists. I've done a couple of articles as to why I'm a huge fan of mixed lists, but this character himself just really pushes that envelope on the mixed list, and then I'm talking about these characters here in just a second, which push that even further. It's really, really cool, awesome interactions. But let's go ahead and talk about Steeljaw. First off, he is a cassette from the new Blaster vs. Soundwave, as well as Ravage. This is not the Ravage from Wave 3. This is going to be the one from the Blaster vs. Soundwave set. Now, both of these characters are going to have stealth while they are in this mode. They both have the same stats coming in at 0 attack, 9 health, and 1 armor. And then they are both going to do kind of the same thing, but polar opposites. So Steeljaw is going to say when you flip to this mode, you get to give one of your other characters bold 1. And then while he is in this mode, he has 3 attack, 1 armor still, and says that he has bold 1, and each of your characters that have 10 or more stars have bold 1. Now, if you guys do notice, we're going to have this character here we just talked about, and he says other characters get bold 1, tough 1. Well, now with Steeljaw, he also has bold 1. Now, if we do flip to even this mode with Prime, he's going to give himself bold 1, tough 1, and focus. So while we have these two in this mode, now General Prime is going to have bold 2, tough 1, and focus 1. So really cool stuff. And then if we go ahead and flip Ravage, Ravage does have Pierce 2, which is where some of that Pierce is going to come in I was talking about, and then does say that each of your characters that has 10 or more stars has Tough 1. So now in this mode, with these two characters this way, we have Bold 2, Tough 2, and Focus 1. So this guy's going to get really, really good, be able to block a lot, be able to deal a lot. Really, really awesome stuff. And then if you're in this mode, now all of your characters have bold 1, tough 1. He's going to give it to your other characters, and they are going to give it to him. So it's even really nice in this mode for us to be able to have that tough 1 and have 4 armor, or have 4 attack with bold 1. Really cool stuff. So we're going to usually be attacking in this mode, but it is not bad to attack in this mode just because of that armor is really nice. If your opponent's not dealing a lot of damage, it's really nice to be in this mode to be able to block for all that. And then the last character coming in here is going to be Raider Detour, who does have stealth while untapped in car mode, has 3 attacks, 6 health, and no armor. We are never really flipping this character, so I'm going to talk about him, but if you do, you get to tap him, scrap a blue card from your hand, and draw 2 cards. So essentially going to be a pep talk after scrapping 1, or whatever the case is with that. But like I said, I rarely ever flip him. And then I didn't talk about it, but when we flip Ravage to this mode, we give one of our other characters Pierce 2, which again is where that talk about that Pierce does come into play. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is sequencing, because I did say that a lot of the power does come from the sequencing, so this is where it's going to be. Now, going first or going second actually doesn't really matter with this list. We do prefer to go first, however, going second is not a problem. Now, most lists that we're going to be going up against are going to be 3 wide lists. That's just the average. There are some 2 wides or 2 talls, however you want to put them, and then there are some 4 wides, but those are kind of far and few between. They are starting to get more popular, and there will be more 4 wides coming into Wave 4. However, for right now, most decks are still 3 wides. So if you do notice, these 3 characters all have stealth. You can't attack him while he's untapped because of stealth, and these 2 have stealth, meaning that your opponent's first turn, they have to attack into General Optimus Prime. Now, first off, this is really nice because this protects all of our little characters, but also, because Optimus does have 3 defense, our opponent's not going to be doing much damage. We are a mixed list as well, so there's a chance that we could even flip 3 blues on defense, but we could also flip 0 blues on defense as well. Not really that possible. Usually we at least flip 1 blue, but either our opponent, since they're not playing an action or an upgrade, have to really try to push damage, or they're just not getting in for damage. Now, if our opponent is pushing damage, that means that they're probably sending out one of their bigger characters, maybe their medium attacker, maybe their large attacker, which I think is a bad thing to do, because even if we happen to take 3 or 4 damage, it's really not enough for your opponent to now expose one of their main characters to our 4 attackers. So that is going to kind of be a bad thing. So most of the time, they're probably going to throw out their support character if they're in a heavy blue list. Maybe it's a Skydive or a Flame War. If they're maybe on an orange list, then, I mean, the choices are pretty high up there. But even a Lionizer that's like attacking General Prime is maybe swinging for 7 or 8 base. We're blocking 4. So even if we happen to take 4, it's really not that big of a deal because they're really not going to be able to go into Optimus much later on where they're going to be able to really benefit from an attack from it. We'll get into all that here soon. But they do have to attack into Prime turn 1. Now after that, we get to delegate how our opponent attacks us pretty much the rest of the game, which is really nice, and like I said, where a lot of power comes from. We can choose to protect Prime if we want, we can choose to protect one of our other characters if we want. We make it really difficult for our opponent to attack. Now, we do get to attack with Detour first. Now, usually with our first turn, we're not flipping Detour. Like I said, I usually want to keep him here, so now I have the choice between the other characters. I don't flip Optimus until he's ready to attack because I really want to maximize that bold and that tough. So turn 1, what I do is I do flip this Ravage, and it's to really open up the other ability on the other side of him. And so if I have to flip back to be able to give Pierce 2 to a character can be pretty relevant, especially when these characters are attacking for 0. It's nice when they can attack for 2 off of flips, and that 2 that they attack for is Pierce. Now I'll talk about that here in a second, but I will then throw in Detour. Now Detour gets in, maybe we flip 3 oranges because we do have bold 1. He gets in for 3 to 6 damage usually. I don't really flip more than that, so that's really, really nice stuff. Us going first, we're not playing a card. If we do get to go first, then I try to go for a Matrix of Leadership, which I do have in the list as a 3 of. It's an orange and a blue. It's a great mix card, plus we actually have a Prime to put it on, and then it does push more of that Pierce. Again, really nice stuff. So we attack here. Now our opponent has to attack back into Detour where things can get a little bit weird. We do have ways to help survive for a little bit longer if we need to, but usually Detour can take a hit because we do have tough. They usually on like turn 1, if again we do get to go first, our opponent has to go back into Detour and they don't really have a lot of stuff to spend on an attack for him. Even if they happen to KO him, he's just a sponge in the list for damage. It's really, really awesome stuff. And then in the event that he survives, which like I said, it's pretty high. I don't really see him go down too often. But if you're playing against like a blaster or maybe like a really aggressive list, he might get KO'd, which is totally fine. But if he does survive, what I actually do is I don't bother flipping. Sometimes maybe I'll flip this Ravage if I'm trying to go into a character that I want to get the tough 2 on. I'll flip Ravage, give Steeljaw the tough 2, and I will actually attack with Steeljaw. Another thing that you can do is you can flip here and then attack back with him. It's possible, but if you're really relying on that Pierce, maybe you're going against heavy blue, then I would suggest that you kind of protect Ravage. The way that I look at it is if I'm playing against heavy blue, I protect Ravage. If I'm playing against heavy orange, I protect Steeljaw. Steeljaw just has the bold. We get access to being able to one-shot our opponent because it's more important to one-shot those characters rather than having them survive because they deal so much damage. And then the same thing if we're going against heavy blue, we really require that Pierce because even if we're getting it for 7 or 8, maybe they're blocking 4 or 5, so we really want to make sure that we're pushing that Pierce. So after I flip Ravage, maybe give Steeljaw the Pierce, swing in. Sometimes you don't even have to do that if you're not needing to get that 2 extra damage in. Just attack with Steeljaw like normal. Maybe you have that Matrix of Leadership here, which then means he's getting it for 1 Pierce 1. Or if you maybe happen to play one of our other upgrades, you just get in here. And what this does is focuses our opponent to go back into Detour because Steeljaw has Stealth. So now we're protecting our Steeljaw, and we're now even offering up Detour again. So our opponent is definitely now going to KO him if they didn't get rid of him the first time, and that means that our opponent now has 2 tapped characters out of their 3, and we've only lost a Detour. It's essentially like our opponent's starting with 2 tapped characters, and we're starting with a 3-wide. And it's really, really good stuff. Now in this situation, now you can choose what you want to do. I usually would flip Steeljaw at this point, and then we get to attack back in with Ravage. The reason behind flipping Steeljaw here is that we still don't want to flip Prime, so we get access to the Bold and the Tough. And if we don't flip Steeljaw, then it forces him into Ravage. Again, if you're going against a heavy blue list, protect Ravage. And if you're going against orange, protect Steeljaw. So here, now you get to flip, you get to swing in here, get in that extra Pierce 2. Again, if we have a Matrix, you're getting in for that Pierce 3 at least, which is nice against those heavy blue decks. Even if you get an orange list, maybe that extra 2 damage from the Pierce is going to be relevant. You never know. Then our opponent chooses which one of these characters they want to go into. Again, we're going to have access to the Bold, the Tough, some of the other cards. Maybe one of them is KO'd, maybe one of them doesn't. But then they are now tapped out, and Prime gets to chew on whoever he wants, now having access to now Bold 2 and Tough 2. This is a really cool part. One card I do run in the list is going to be Rollout. One thing that I love to do here in this turn specifically before flipping is play Rollout. That does flip both of these guys. It gives him access to Bold and Tough until end of turn because you do get it off of their flips. And then you flip Prime for the turn. You get to chew on whoever you want with Prime, but then when you reset, you notice now they have to go back into our Optimus Prime. They have Stealth. He now has Bold, the Bold 1, the Tough 1, and Focus, which is really nice. He's going to lose their static abilities until end of turn, which is fine. I'm sorry, not their static abilities, but he's going to lose access to that Bold and that Tough for the turn, but that's perfectly fine. It just forces our opponent into here. At this point, they should probably have 2 characters KO'd. Maybe they have their main character KO'd, and then they just have their 2 support characters. So even if they happen to put, again, a bunch of damage onto Prime, because we have access to so many cards that are really nice to be able to buff and stuff, he's going to be able to take a beating, which is really, really good. Even if we don't roll out and we're in this situation, now he has access to Bold 2, Tough 2, and our opponent's most likely going to have to go after one of these 2 characters because going into him with Focus, Bold 2, Tough 2 is not a very good idea for our opponent unless they're just pushing that much damage. So it is really awkward on as far as what you're going up against. But again, really fun stuff. And then at this point, let's say that we want to be able to stack Pierce for the turn or stack a Bold for the turn, and we even want to offer up our Prime here. We could even flip here, and we can give ourselves another Bold. We could also just stay in this mode, maybe flip, give us the Pierce if it's relevant. We could also just choose to not even flip in general, and we can just attack here. And then now we're getting in for that Bold 2, Tough 2 Prime, and then our opponent has to still go into him. So hope you guys get to see that we really get to kind of choose where our opponent does get to attack, which is really nice stuff. And then after this turn, if you'd want, I'd probably flip this Prime. So now that he would still have access to their abilities, and they would still give it to him. So even if our opponent chooses to try to go after Prime, so maybe they're trying to focus him, he's still going to be able to get those abilities. And then now they get access to the Bold and the Tough too. So that's going to be really nice as well. And then when we get swinging with these guys, they get to do their stuff, and I hope that you guys get to kind of understand how a lot of that sequencing goes, because like I said, we really just get to force our opponent into the character that we want them to attack while being able to eat almost any of their characters, which is really good stuff. Like I said, these characters can get in for crazy amounts of damage. So I'm going to put those aside and just talk about a few of the cards that are in the list that I really, really do enjoy. And that is going to be Powersword. Powersword is a blue card. That's always been one of my things that I hate about it, is that it promotes promotes Bold, but it's a blue card. In this, it's really nice because, again, we're running that mixed list. So we absolutely love it. And it says to put on melee characters. Well, we got melee character, we got melee character, and we got melee while in this mode, and then he becomes ranged when he flips to this mode. So we actually can put it onto him, and then even if we do flip, we do not lose the upgrade because it was played on a legal target in the turn we played it. It doesn't matter if we flip, it does get to stick around. So now we're getting in for Bold 4, or Bold 5 potentially, which is crazy amounts of Bold, and then again, it's a blue, so it's really nice stuff. Now, I only run one Press the Advantage. It's something that I've started to do now, is I've kind of gone back on it. I used to run it as a 2 of, now it's mainly a 1 of in most of my lists. I find, that it is necessary in some situations, but in some situations it's just a +2, which isn't bad. but it's not good enough for me to now like 2 or 3 like I used to do. And then if I do play up against Decepticons, it is probably the most oppressive card in the game right now. So in that case, I will then bring them in from the sideboard to be able to put them out there. Now I run one of each of these, and that is because, well, I've got one of each of these. It can also go on to Prime, but I do have another target card for him that I'll show off here in just a second. But it's really nice to be able to put onto these guys because now they get access to Pierce wherever they want. I also have Matrix of Leadership like I talked about, so putting that onto Prime, having this onto one of these onto a character that you're going up against an Autobot or Decepticon, you're already looking at Pierce 3. Well, I already talked about flipping Ravage to give Pierce 2 to a character. Well, now we're getting in for Pierce 5. You can either do it onto him, where we're giving him still the Pierce 5, because we're going to flip enough oranges to where that 5 will always be there. So it's going to be really nice stuff that even attacking with a base of 0, you're going to be getting in for that Pierce 5 still, which is pretty nice stuff. And it's, like I said, into an opposite Decepticon, Autobot, whatever the case is. So against those heavy blue lists, they're still getting in for that Pierce 5, which is actually a really relevant amount of damage. And then if you're going into Decepticons, and obviously we have press advantage still, and then we also have access to a bunch of bolds. So even if we're going into Autobots, they're really not that heavy into blue lists, unless you're running like, Too Tall Prime or Battlefield Legend as a 3-wide, whatever the case is. So those are going to be really nice to be able to just push that much damage there. And then I also am main boarding a couple of Heat of Battles. I think Heat of Battle is a really fun card. I'm usually only a sideboard fan of it, but with this list, I thought because we're a 4-wide, it might be really nice to run them as 2 in the main board, which I do run because if we do make our opponent go first, then we're getting 2 extra attackers, and then even if we choose to go first, then we still have 1 additional attacker. So it still might be nice. If you are going up against a blue list, I recommend that you do sideboard these things out of there. You get them out just because that tough 3 is going to be far more relevant for your opponent than you, because you may flip 2 blues on your bold 3. It may not matter a whole bunch, so you don't want to get a little messed up with those flips and then also benefit your opponent. So I would get those out of there. And then I do run a couple of Reckless Charges in here, so those are always really good cards. It's an easy orange pip, and then it does give us +4 for an attack, so it does really help us push on that attack. Now, I will have the full deck list in the description box below, so don't worry about it. I'm not going to show all the cards here. And then I do have an Ion Blaster of Optimus Prime I run that says 2 of. This is my primary card that I do try to put on Prime. Obviously, if we're in alt mode, we get 4 base defense, and then if we are, in bot mode and we're getting ready for those big attacks, now we're looking at 8 bold 2 focus 1, so it gets in for crazy amounts of damage. I do have my basic package of removal that I've been running a lot lately, and that is a Bashing Shield and Enforcement Batons, and then I do run a Vaporize and I think a Ramming Speed as well. Pretty sure. Let me check here. Yep. Do run the basic package. This is what I run for pretty much all of my mix lists. If it's not a mix list, I probably only run like 3 of these, maybe these 2 because they're fishable, and then also 1 of these, but because these are fishable, they're also good for weapons or armor, which is really nice for the little characters. And then I obviously always run these 2 with a mix list just because it's always nice to have the answers, and then because they do the exact same thing, why not run them because they have different pips. My only double blue in the list is going to be Handheld Blaster. I do also run the double orange, which is going to be Improvised Shield, and that is because at least these cards are useful versus like the Security Checkpoints and Peace Through Tyrannies. There isn't any character to Peace Through Tyranny in the list, so I'm not a fan of running it. Security Checkpoint, it's a kind of a hit or miss card unless you're playing it for the double blue pips, which I don't really need in the list. This one does give us access to bold 1 because we're a mix list. Nice. Same thing, this does give us access to tough 1, so if we need to get that extra armor stuff out there, we totally can. I do run 2 espionages. It's mainly in here for a white pip and then also to be able to get anything out of our opponent's hand that we just watch them pick up with an orange pip, or I'm sorry, a green pip, or anything that we just watch them get back from their scrap pile, whatever the case is. It's also really nice if you're playing it and your opponent is running like a heavy aggressive deck and you're trying to hit that reckless charge or grenade launcher before they get the really big turn hit, or if you're going up against maybe you're worried that they're going to press the advantage or Ravage and one-shot them, you get to play it and get rid of the press the advantage. It's a card that I pretty much run as a 2 of in every Decepticon list just because of that. And then I am running 3 and 3 of these Battlefield Report. It's a really nice card in mixed lists because I get to draw 2 and then put 1 back on top. So it guarantees that I probably get to put at least 1 blue on top of my deck. And then I did show off we do have the double blue, so that's a really nice one to stack. And then coming with the attack side of things, being able to draw 2 cards and then put 1 on top of your deck. I use this for offense, defense. You can kind of see that with the pip count. That's what the cards are really designed for, which is really nice stuff. And this allows me to put a double orange on top of my deck, or if I'm digging for another weapon, whatever the case is, something like that's really nice. And I think, oh, and then I'm running 3 of these inner grooves. Now, this is a new card that was introduced with the Blaster vs. Soundwave list. I don't know if I'm a big fan of it, to be honest with you, but it is a white pip card, so that's kind of the main reason why it's in there. And then it does give my mini cassettes +1/+1. You can only put it on mini cassettes. Now, one thing that a lot of people freak out about is that it's only on one side. There are mini cassettes on both sides, so it doesn't matter what mode they're in. You can always play it on them, which is really nice stuff. Like I said, it just does give the +1 attack and +1 defense, which can sometimes be relevant. Again, I don't know if I'm a big fan of the card. The main reason why I like it is it gives it to both offense and defense, and it goes in the utility slot, so I don't have to worry about taking up a weapon section. So there's a quick breakdown of the deck for you guys. Now let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty, now getting into the gameplay, I'm going to be going up against dinobots here. Now, I thought this would be good. Like I said, I'm going to be showing you guys just a best of 1 gameplay with this one. We did do a best of 3, but the rest of the matches kind of went down the same way that this one did. So I thought it'd be a really easy way for me to just kind of show you guys how the deck performs, and then I can chat with you guys. I can chat and kind of break down some of the plays and some of the reasonings why I did some of the things that I did, so you guys can better help understand the deck. So my opponent is just shuffling up here. He is going to be going with Dinobots, a little bit of a mixed list, but kind of more of the classic team. That is Swoop on the far left that you guys can see on the side of the screen there, but there is glare, so it is just going to kind of hide a little bit. We did do the cuts. I do believe I chose to go first, and it's because I do get to force that detour attack over and over. So it's a really nice thing. It gets to help protect my prime for a little bit, and then I do get to throw that detour out there, which is most likely what I do go with here. I do flip the Ravage that I talked about previously, and it's because that Pierce might be kind of relevant with the list. I knew that it is a mixed list, so I'm not 100% sure what's in there. And we are getting in for a basic attack. So this is us attacking with 5 here for Detour, which is really nice. We do get the double blue. I did go into Sludge because he does have the lower amount of defense. Again, wasn't 100% sure how many blues were in there. Seeing 2 blues flip off the top of his deck there means that he probably has a decent amount of them. So I figured just going into the other character with less damage. I did cut ahead there. I did take him a little bit to figure out which character he wanted to flip because he is most likely, which I did put him on with a rollout turn. So he's just trying to figure out how he wants to benefit from that rollout the most. He is attacking here for a decent amount. Now, showing you guys there that even after not playing anything, it's really hard for your opponent to dedicate big cards to try to go into a detour, but it does really hurt them when your detour gets to survive, because here you guys are going to see that I do get to force that detour attack again. Now, it is a little more dangerous in this situation because he does have the Grimlock over there, so massive amounts of damage that can spill over from Detour, who does have 0 armor, can be pretty scary, but we do have multiple characters we can choose to put it on. In this one, I also don't really mind putting it too much on the Ravage because he does just have the Pierce 2, but it doesn't hurt too bad. I am debating here in my hand what I wanted to play, if I was really worried about him having a way of removing this Blaster, because I do really want it to stick around, but I do have some other upgrades as well, so I'm not really that worried about it. And then here I am debating as well if I do want to go with forcing him into a different character. I do choose to attack with the Steel Jaw here, getting in some really nice damage. You guys can see that this list being a mix, I do tend to get pretty lucky with the attacks, so I'm getting in for 4 here, that's even with a base of 0. So pretty nice stuff. He didn't flip any blues, so this does allow me to get in for, I believe, 2 damage. I think Swoop has 2 on that side. And here I can choose to pick up the Scoundrels Blaster. Again, a really nice way of only having the one of each and each thing. I'm not too worried about a lot of weapons sticking around. I haven't seen a lot go through his scrap pile, so getting rid of the Enforcement Batons here was an easy choice for me to be able to pick up the Scoundrels Blaster, which does give me Pierce 4 now with my Ravage, which is pretty solid damage. Again, I don't know how many he's going to flip on a defense, so it's really nice to be able to look at that and to be able to guarantee that I know I'm getting 4 damage in, and then anything beyond that's going to be good. Now here, he's going to be flipping the Sludge. Now, again, this is really just kind of enforcing the fact that I do believe that he does have that rollout in hand, just because he's going to be able to get in for an easy swing here, and he's going to be able to at least heal possibly with the Sludge if he chooses to not go for the rollout this turn. The other option would be to flip Swoop because he does have damage on him as well, so being able to roll out with that to move a damage might be relevant. I'm trying to remember what happens here. I guess we'll have to just find out in real time. Alrighty, and did a quick jump ahead. He did choose to take back the sludge flip and flip swoops, and I'm 1,000,000% positive that he does have the rollout in hand because there is that damage on the sludge. He does get to play this Energon axe here, which is going to be able to get mostly enough damage to be able to get on the detour. Again, really nice stuff that he does have to spend the attack into the detour. I just don't have to worry about it too much. Flipped a couple of blue there. I think this still, no matter what, takes care of him. And he flips a bunch of whites there. I think this still does KO. Yep, it is enough to get the KO done, and this is what I was kind of talking about with the deck build, is that now my opponent essentially has 2 tap-down characters that start with damage against the 3-wide, which is really nice stuff. I do have one of my tapped characters, obviously, but like you guys can see, I just have a lot of damage coming in. My opponent is here debating on that espionage. Another good thing about a mixed list is that it is a little more difficult for your opponent to be able to peg a color when it does come to the espionage. Now they can always, which is the smart play, go for a card that they want to hit the most, and then if they hit it, great, and if not, it's not that bad because that card isn't in their hand. So most of the time, like I always try to go for, if I'm running Decepticons with it, I always try to go for orange or green if I think they have a lot of greens to try to keep them off and press the advantage, all that good jazz. Now I did just top deck the Matrix of Leadership, which is really nice. Now I know that I'm going to be able to get my swing in here, so I'm kind of trying to set this up as best as possible, and I believe I'm going for the really big play, which is playing the Bashing Shield. I'm going to be Reckless Charge on Prime, and I'm going to be sending Prime in to hopefully one-shot this sludge. Now, the really cool part about this is that getting rid of this sludge, it puts him in the wrong mode, so he can't still function back and be able to flip to overheal, which I don't know if I go with. I might also just crush the swoop. I don't remember exactly. But again, with me having the Steeljaw that has stealth, that he can't go into Steeljaw. Now he has to go into an attack into Prime, who has Focus 1 and Tough 2. So again, really nice stuff. This just lets me really protect my team, really choose how I want things to go down. But even this swing with having the blues on the attack, I did play the Reckless Charge, which was what my point behind it was. I saw a lot of flips early on go. So I'm getting in for, what is this, 14 damage, 13 damage? So I'm pretty much going to be able to crush whatever I want. I am going into the sludge, which does KO the sludge. Like I said, that puts him in the wrong mode in the KO area because he can't do that I still function play back. Really nice stuff. It also really prevents a lot of the heals coming from attacking with Autobots while he's in the other mode. So this doesn't really allow him to be able to get that extra bit from it. My opponent is currently choosing on the escape route because he is allowed to play it onto his Grimlock to give bold 3 and then flip back and then be able to have that 6 damage. But here, the trample isn't really relevant at all because I'm forcing him into Optimus Prime. So even with a big damage hit, he's still going into the Prime, who has a base of 4 armor, Tough 2, and Focus 1. So it's really powerful stuff like I was talking about in the previous part of the video. I just get to force my opponent into a not so advantageous position to where they have to attack the character that I want them to, which is really, really good stuff. Plus, Prime can just take a beating by himself. Really awesome stuff. Going for a confidence here, which still allows him to play in action, which also does let him dig 2 more through his deck. Confidence is a really powerful card in the list. He's getting rid of a piece through Tyranny there because it's just a double orange. Doesn't really do a lot in his hand. And then getting rid of a Smelt because even if he plays the Smelt, I'm just going to choose the Bashing Shield. So he's not benefiting from it. There is the rollout that I was anticipating. This does allow him to move 1 damage, most likely onto Prime. He does choose Prime. That does give Grimlock bold 3. He does get to flip back. And then this is where he gets to crash in. I just adjust his damage there because he didn't heal the 1. And then he sends him in here into, obviously, Prime. Now getting his basic flip here. At most, he's probably going to be doing between that like 9 to 10 damage range. We get a pretty good flip on defense, even flipping those double oranges, because we do have the 4. I have 7. He's getting in for, it looks like 11. It looks like he's getting in for 10, my 7. I take 3 damage. Again, talking about having all of that base armor there. It's really good stuff, even with him having the bold 3. He did flip well. He didn't get a white pip, unfortunately. He did only flip 1 blue, but with that, he still was getting in for a good amount of damage. 10 was pretty solid, but like I said, me being a mixed list, I just take far less damage. I get to focus out that card, which is really beneficial. And then we did get to draw. I think he is debating here on what is better between the Noble's Blaster and the Leap into Battle. And honestly, the Leap into Battle is better, and there's no point in getting rid of it. He's not going to be able to get the Pierce 2 on me. That's that relevant. It only gives +2. But being able to get the +3 off of the leap into battle is better. And then I think we were talking about the press the advantage, if that was a better card, and I was saying, well, even if you go into Ravage, the card is better, but leap is going to be naturally better because it's a +3. You don't have to worry about the -2 because his target has to be Prime. It's really hard to win this battle when you're trying to focus on the mini cassettes, just because then Prime is going to be taking the brunt of it, and they're just going to finish you off. So you really are trying to focus into Prime. Let's see what I did. Draw here. Trying to remember what it was. Yeah, this is the Scoundrels turn that I'm going to be going for. So that does give me the Pierce 4 for the turn. Michael was definitely not that happy for that. We had a pretty rough day of a lot of Pierce previously before this stuff, so he had a couple of unfortunate matches against some Pierce stuff, so I can understand the frustration with it. I do flip Prime here. That does give access to the Bold 1, which is really nice, and we do get to send him in here, and you guys get to see, again, mixed list, man. We're flipping really good, and it's really nice stuff that's getting us in for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. So even having 2, he's taking 5. Really good stuff. I believe I went into Grimlock here because my goal was to try to one-shot here. We do get the straighten, and again, looking at it, he has to go either into Ravage or Prime. I'm really protecting the Steeljaw because, again, I'm going up against an orange list mainly. I thought originally that it was going to be more of a heavy blue list, but it turns out that it has specific blue cards, but it definitely leans a little more orange, so I'm protecting that Steeljaw so I can get in for big damage when I need to with him. And then obviously Prime being in the right mode, we have 5 base armor on this Prime with tough 1, so it's going to be really hard to be able to get a lot of damage on this Prime, who again has to be his target. Going to flip Swoop for the turn. He is also going to be playing that Noble's Blaster, so now he's swinging in for a base of 7, and I do believe he's also debating on this leap into battle here. And it's because he's just trying to really push as much damage as he possibly can. He does play the leap, and then he is going to be sending him into, I believe, Prime. I did look at it for focus, and it was a double blue, so really good stuff. So now he's getting in for 10, 12 damage, I believe. It's 5, 7, yep. 12 damage. Oh no, he's going into Ravage. I did not get the focus there, but even with that, I do believe that leaves us with 1 health. Because that is 12, and yep, that does leave us with 1 health. That extra blue there from the tough from Prime was really beneficial, really worked out, and that'll pretty much seal the deal on the game. If he would have been able to get rid of Ravage, that would have been 1 less attacker, and he would have had a chance here. This is the turn now where I can really force my opponent's hand with the Grimlock. Even if I do choose to offer up Ravage, then my opponent will then have to even crash through Ravage, and any spillover damage I get to put onto Steeljaw, and then we really just get to seal the deal. So it's really, really nice spot here. I am looking at that Power Sword in my hand, which does give us the Bold 3, and we'll be playing that on the Steeljaw. I wonder if this is the big turn that I was talking about. I don't remember which swing it is. It looks like I'm just debating if I want to go overboard. This is the turn that I do it. I do give him the heat of battle. Again, I'm going against a mainly orange list, so it's still more beneficial for me. We're kind of probably even when it comes to the attacks, but I do get absolutely insane here with the flips. And I think I flip almost every single orange in my deck. I flip 1 blue at the very end, which is a crazy amount. I'm pretty sure this is the 18 turn. But it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It was 16 damage. So a lot of damage that we got in with that Steeljaw, who has a base of 3. But it turns out Bold 8 is pretty good. So it's pretty solid. Like I said, I just got really lucky with my flips as well. I happened to flip every single orange almost, except for 1 blue in the end. So really good stuff. And this does open it up. I'm not really worried. He does play an Energon Axe, goes for the escape route just to get that Bolt 3 again. And he's definitely going to be crashing in here for a lot of damage. Big disadvantage to it is that even if I happen to put the extra damage onto Ravage, we're still in a really good spot. It looks like he's getting in for 9, 10, 11, 14 damage. I do believe it is 14. We do happen to have 2, which means that we're taking 11 in total, so I get 2 extra to put on me, and I do believe I choose to put it onto Prime here. There's no point in me putting it onto Ravage because that's still a guarantee 4 damage that I have sitting over there. I do have the Matrix enhanced, so it's a guarantee 5, which means that Prime is only going to have to get in for 2 damage. So again, pretty much seals it up. We do play that Matrix of Leadership there, and the game is pretty much set up and done. I just played that just to show him, and he knows that the game is over. And so that just really goes to show you kind of the power level of the deck. Like I said, it really forces your opponent to certain specific situations. We get really good stuff as far as how much damage we want to do and when we want to do it, and all of that really good jazz.
So there you guys have it. Like I said, I wanted to show you guys just the gameplay to really get to highlight some of the stuff that the deck does get to do. We did do a quick breakdown on the list, the team, the sequencing, which is obviously the most important part, just so you guys better understand it. Now, I said I've been having an absolute blast playing this deck. I think that it has potential for really good things. I think there's just a couple of more card choices that I need to make, maybe cut down to 2. Like I said, the inner grooves are probably the one that I'm the most iffy about. I never really used them a whole lot throughout the day, and they're kind of a mediocre card. So I just, like I said, I thought it'd be really cool since I was running 2 of the cassettes. I might as well try running 1 of the cards. But like I said, I'll most likely end up swapping that one out. Maybe I'll put in security consoles or maybe data pads to kind of set up my attack or defense for whatever more that I'm trying to get out. Don't really know yet. Obviously, with Wave 4's introduction, there's going to be a whole mess of new cards, so there's going to be tons of stuff for us to be able to choose from, so it's really good things. But I wanted to give you guys just a quick breakdown on everything, so if you guys wanted to go out and try this deck, that you guys definitely could, and you guys have all of the stuff now to be able to do so. Now, again, I will have the deck down in the description box below. I will also have it over on our website if you guys do want to head over there and check it out there. I'll obviously have this video and a little bit more of a breakdown on it if you do have more thoughts or questions about the deck. I'm going to be doing this with a lot more decks lately, especially that I showed off on stream the other day. That a lot of you guys were really interested about, that I can really do these good videos and be able to give you guys a breakdown of gameplay and deck. So again, if you guys did enjoy it, obviously let me know down in the comment section below. And then obviously if you guys want, you guys can give a like on the video to also show me that way. Hope that you guys really did enjoy this, and I will catch you guys in the next one.